Today we're going to be talking all about this jewelry tray, and as some of you viewers might be looking at it as a different type of item, we're going to be referring to it as a jewelry tray today. Now, last week we made these very simple CNC boxes. They were very easy to cut out, didn't take much time at all. And today we're going to be talking about how to integrate this design into a tray so that we can have all these different types of lids to fit and close in these spaces. Now, there's an infinite number of ways that we can go about creating this project, but today we're just going to create this very simple version. So let's go ahead and jump over to the CNC machine and cut this thing out. As always, we used our HD beginner bits, which are the only 3 bits that you need to CNC with me. Use code Hamilton for 10% off, link down below. The first bit that we used was the bowl cut bit to hog out all of the material, and it's really nice because it has a 3/16 inch radius on it. So you do get like a nice curve at the very bottom of your pockets, but it also has a flat spot so that you get very nice flat bottoms to all of your pockets that you're creating. Afterwards, we went in with our downtown Jenny. We did a little bit of profiling. As you can see here, I was able to cut out the tray as well as 2 lids. And like I said, those lids were used for last week's project. If you're interested, I'll have that link down below as well. Now, just to show off the capabilities of this project so that you might be able to see it in different ways and maybe different ways that you want to be able to use it, went ahead and put down a piece of cedar, and I once again hogged out a ton of material. This cedar, for instance, was 0.835 inches thick, but I really wanted to make sure that the lid that we ended up with was a lot thinner than that. So I went ahead and hogged out a ton of material and ended up with a lid that is about 1/2 inch tall. Now, once again, came in with the downtown Jenny, and that created the lip that really indexes into the tray so that it, makes a nice solid bond. It doesn't really move around a whole lot when you're shifting the tray. And that's really it. Just these 2 bits were able to give us this final result. I did hop on a call with Onefinity. That was a ton of fun. We went live on Instagram. Like 100 people were there. So we did a few questions and answers about WorkbenchCon. But I did get some finish on these guys. And that's left us right here. Right now everything's drying, but I really want to do a quick recap over last week for anybody who might have missed that video in particular. Now, we have these 2 different designs. One of them is circular and then one of them is square. And both of these are around 3 inches in diameter, and we are able to make some pretty darn easy and cool boxes out of them. It's pretty interesting too that last week I cut this, and you can already see that the wood movement has made it so that, I don't know if you can hear that, but the wood direction, when it's lined up, there is the appropriate amount of slop built into this so that it opens and closes and works fine. But then once you turn it and then the grain direction is crossed on the top and the bottom, it really is quite tight. So that was pretty interesting. This is pine, so that softwood is going to move around a lot easier than a much harder wood. But obviously it still works, and I'm still very happy with the results on this. Now, last week I talked about how I wasn't going to be finishing them, and I wanted to show you a different side of this project because it is quite standalone. This is our jewelry tray, and these are the different lids that we're going to be using. These lids obviously cut out of walnut, being the exact same thickness of the material that we cut the tray out of. And like I said earlier, these cedar pieces I made a lot thinner so that you can see the difference on them. Some key things that I want to first and foremost point out is that if you are doing this in a very nice hardwood, spend a lot of time sanding it. That is going to make your project look a lot better. If you're having difficulty sanding the interior of these, changing your step over to be shorter is going to be very helpful for your last pass. So in our tool database for our feeds and speeds that is shared with all the members over on CNC with me, check out cncwithme.com if you already haven't. We have a tool database, and for this bowl bit, this iteration, we have it set up where it's going over 0.09 inches for its step over to maintain a very tight step over and give you a pretty good solid finish on the bottom. If you wanted to keep that even tighter, you will get a better finish, but for me, the time allowance really doesn't, add up to getting a better finish. I would rather just go in with some sandpaper and do a little bit of hand sanding myself. But I'm very pleased with the end result. We've got a few different pockets, and just like my pocket knife tray earlier in this year, there are a ton of different ways to configure this. Now, this is the main file, so for all of you CNC with me members who are jumping over there and downloading the file right now, you've got this. Everything toolpath ready to save as G-code for both Carveco and Vectric, but also the SVG file that I'll be doing an entire toolpath tutorial for. This is what you have. Right now, if you have these tops and you were to put it in this base, sorry, everything's still a little bit wet, so I'm really trying not to, oh, that was a horrible idea. That's what happens when you rush a finish. It doesn't turn out great. And I'm using this stuff called Clear Glaze Triple Thick. I thought it was going to look really good for this because of, you know, jewelry and shiny and stuff. This stuff is a whole thing. Wow. Don't tell anybody. It's like it never happened. So let's go ahead and let this properly dry, and then I'll show you how things fit in together. It is time for this week's mystery file, which means that Mitz sends me over some mystery G code. I load it into the CNC machine, and then I run it. Now, this one I only have one bit. He gave me the instructions. He said, hey, just load up the 60-degree V-bit and let it rip. Oh, no. I knew the board was warped. Well, it says, sometimes when I'm feeling crazy, I only measure once. I was supposed to have a tape measure in the middle of it, but my wood was bowed. But yeah, thanks, Mitz. And for all of y'all who are enjoying these mystery files, next week I have quite the treat for you, because Mitz himself is in the shop, and we're going to run a hamstery file.
Now, you have no idea what's loaded up on the controller, do you?
I do not.
And I just need you to promise me one thing, that whatever we cut out, you read live on camera.
Okay.
Well, good morning, sleepyheads. Just a quick update. Life this week has been busy, and it's been a lot. So today is Friday morning. This video will be coming out today for y'all who watch my videos the day that they come out. This whole adventure so far has been incredibly fun, and I've been able to figure out a whole lot of things about my workflow and how to make things faster and better. And life happens, though, and recently some stuff happened that was out of anybody's control, and I'm very glad that I was able to respond and be there for the people that needed me to be there, which meant that the video did not take priority over any of that. So I've challenged myself this year to be able to put out a video every single Friday, and I'm sticking with that. But I'm very, very blessed to be at a place in life where I have a job and I have a community that allows me to do cool stuff like this and put it out on the internet. I've also learned that on YouTube it is not the best thing in the world to share your full heart or anything, so don't worry, we're not doing that today. But I just want to say thank you for all the people who do watch the content, who are getting enjoyment out of this, who are making these projects. It brings me a ton of joy as well. It's like, you know, every week, the people who are CNC with me members, part of the whole membership is to get your name on the video, which is what's scrolling over right now. And sheesh, it's more than I could have ever imagined. And this community is so incredible. And I know that if I were to have posted something on the page saying, hey, a lot of things happened this week, I can't make it, that every single person would have said, Hamilton, it's fine, take your time, move on to the next week. Next week is going to be miserably different than this week as far as like how the content was made. We've got a special guest, which I'm very excited about. And then we've got a few like random months that I'm really excited about as well. I've got so much in store, and I'm so excited, I'm so full of life, and once again, so incredibly grateful that when things do happen, I have the time and space to be able to respond to those things and be present for the people who need me. Let's talk about this jewelry box, because Mitz and I have been working pretty hard on this, and I hope that some of y'all out there can use this as inspiration to be able to make some better stuff. Now, first and foremost, I want to go ahead and tackle what had just happened in this video, which was like 12 hours ago for me, is this stupid finish. So originally I thought that clear, thick glaze was going to be the thing to use on this. Now that I'm out here, now that things are dried and cured and everything, it looks fine, but it's not what I had envisioned. So I wish that I would have done something, either like some type of an oil or something, and really sanded this like miserably high, like up to like 400-600, because it looks fine, but it definitely doesn't look the way that I feel like it could look. Now, the reason that I cut out these box tops in particular is just to show you the different heights and how things can look for your project. Now, obviously this is the same thickness as the material, so things are going to pop up a whole lot more, but also you're going to have a ton more allowance for different things that you're putting into your project. Whereas this smaller box, I think, looks considerably more streamlined, but you're going to have a little bit less space to be able to store things. This is how I would do it, and right now this is 1/2 inch thick fully, and like I said earlier, this is the top to last week's project, so this can just easily interchange into the project that you're doing. Now, one thing that I did do was I went in with a roundover bit on my little DeWalt router right here,
And this is a very niche bit. It's called a mini roundover bit, and I'll put a link down below. I honestly can't remember where I got it from. I'm pretty sure that it's made by Amana, and it's 3/16, which is great because it matches the radius of our bowl cut bit, but it also has a very short throw on it. So you can take this and you can dip it down into pockets. These pockets right here are just 1/2 of an inch deep, and this does not hit the very bottom of the pocket, so you're still able to get a radius on it. All the time, I'm asked on the channel, why don't you just do that on the CNC machine? Most of the time, I just think it's easier for me to do it by hand. There certainly is, and most people should do it on the CNC machine, but I don't. And that's another reason why all this stuff works so well with this channel and CNC with me, is because we're just focusing on 3 bits, saying if you want these results, that's all you need. I could easily go down and have 12, 15, 30 bits on this channel and show you all the different capabilities of all those things, and I think that that's really what I'm trying to do, is set y'all up to be able to have a starting point, because CNC machining can be incredibly daunting and incredibly difficult. But once it clicks, you'll very easily recognize how many possibilities there are, and a lot of people just want to know how to make this project, which is what we're all about. That's what this whole entire community is about. And then once they're able to make this project and start seeing a few other possibilities wrapped around it, that's when things get really interesting, and that's when you're able to make a project your own. So even with this, I made this so there's a ton of different vectors and people can choose where they're putting things, but in my mind, it would just as easily look great if we had these pockets right over here, had 4 lids in total, and then just had an area in between. Now, that completely changes up the entire purpose of this tray, but that's kind of all that CNC trays are. You give them a name, if it's a knife tray, it's a catch-all tray, it's a jewelry tray, but they're all kind of the same thing. And the purpose behind them is defined by you as the maker. So I absolutely love how all of this fits together. I love two-tone projects, I love two-tone wood, and the really great thing is, like I said, if you're looking at last week's project, you can quickly and easily make this into a little box as well, because they all fit into each other. So I'm very, very happy with how this one has worked out. Now onto these pockets, just to explore these a little bit more. We've got these 4 small ones up top, and I'm imagining rings, very, very tiny things in there. Right here, I'm imagining much more like the bracelets, and then much more of a catch-all area down here. Watches, maybe you want to put a wallet right there. And then your more special objects, things that you might not want to be out and about or seen, or, I don't know, interacting with other people. You can have these lids and just quickly and easily place these on top so that your project is just, I don't know, covered up. Now the other portion of this is we only use 2 of our 3 bits. Normally we're going to be using our V-bit in order to personalize and customize this project, and that's why there is a ton of open space right here. That's normally where somebody's going to gravitate towards putting a very large name. But there's also ample room around here on the side, so if you did want to put in some type of a design, I don't know, like maybe like houseplant design, like monastera leaves or something like that, you could very easily do that on here. Now, if you're making this out of plywood, I would definitely warn you to use very nice plywood when doing this, but that's easy enough. Definitely go with Baltic birch. They make Baltic birch in like inch and 3/4 inch thicknesses. This, like I said, is an inch thick, because this file is set up so that you can easily make this with stair treads, which is, a dimensionally stable lumber that you can get from any big box store. You can go in there, and it turns out they sell it in white oak and red oak in my area. There's a lot of different varieties that you can get it in, and that's what we had cut out these out of, is a pine stair tread, and that's what this thickness is, and that's how everything matches up so well. I am going to be having a full toolpath tutorial on CNC with me, so that all of y'all that want to know how we toolpath this, I hope that those have been helpful for y'all, because the truth is they're starting to get more and more simple, and I'm hoping that as y'all are following along and seeing how I'm doing things, that it's able to give you a little bit of confidence to be able to change things up in the way that makes more sense to you. Because to some of y'all might not need a jewelry tray. For some of y'all, this tray is going to speak in different ways, and that's the really exciting thing, is because we're all able to talk with each other and figure different things out, talk about different pricing structures and where you're going to be selling these things and who you're going to be selling them to, if you're even looking to sell things at all. My most recent webinar was talking about how to get your product into stores, kind of the 101 version of consigning your products in other people's stores, and that went over super well. There's a lot of information that's steadily growing over there. The community is just massive, overwhelmingly massive, honestly, and I cannot thank y'all enough for all the interactions. We have so much to do this year. I am so proud of what we've already done and so excited for the future. And I will be seeing y'all next Friday for a little bit different of a video, but I'm hoping that y'all enjoy it. All right, bye.